Everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and I'm here with a design team post for Scrapping for Less. I'm using a couple different products today. I'm using the Sunny Studios Here Comes Santa stamp set, and then I'm using the Sunny Studios Dapper Diamonds embossing folder. So you'll see me there using the embossing folder to make that black panel, and I'm going to tell you that this card did not come out at all the way I originally had it in my head on what I was going to do. Originally, I was going to make this an all like black and white card, put a little sparkle on it and stuff, but I wasn't going to use any colors. Obviously, that was not the case. And I kind of did this backwards, so I would suggest if you are going to make a card like this, you don't do it in the order that I do this, because I definitely had some issues with making some of the stuff. One of the other things I was going to do while I still had it in my head that it was going to be an all black and white card was to give it a little definition and a little depth, I was going to put the snow hills on there. So since I was stamping it, I wanted it to still look, even with the layers on there, that they were consistent and that the tree line was, even with the snow hills, it was still, kind of where it was supposed to be. So I actually stamped the stamp on each of the layers and lined it up with the back panel that had the complete one on there, so that everything, even when I layered it up, it still looked consistent, like the tree lines were where they were supposed to be, and there wasn't anything like broken with them. So here I'm stamping them, and that's what I'm kind of doing here. I definitely wanted to use the stamping platform for this because one, it was a solid image and you might have to stamp it a couple times, but also because I was doing those layers and I needed to make sure that everything really lined up well and that there wasn't anything that was going to move around when I was trying to stamp different things. So like I said, basically what I was going to do originally was have it all black and white. I was going to use some like silver embossing powder on there and make it like snowflakes that were coming down like it was snowing. You see there I was erasing. I have the mono eraser so that I had a couple ink smudges on there, the sand eraser, and it works really well if you do happen to get a couple of those smudges or anything like that onto the paper. So I have my Brutus Monroe embossing ink, and I'm just using the little snowflakes, the little dots that come into the stamp, and I'm just stamping it all over the image. And then I had the brilliant idea. I have a white or a clear like embossing powder that has glitter in it. So I thought that maybe that would be cooler than just doing the silver, because it would have the glitter. It would kind of be like glittery like when it snows. So I did all of that, and then I heat embossed it, and it didn't exactly give me the look that I was going for. So I was sitting there not happy with how this whole thing was turning out, yet not really quite ready to scrap it yet because I still liked the concept. I just couldn't figure out how this was going. I was going to make this work into something that I ended up liking. So what I ended up doing was getting Distress Oxide and putting in like a sky, because I just thought the white without any type of skyline just did not work well. So I ended up cutting out a piece of just some masking tape so that I could put some in there. I used Salty Ocean, I used Worn Lipstick, and then the purple one, what is that one? Um, Grape Preserve or something like that. And then I used the black soot, and I actually went over the embossing ink, I mean the embossing powder, and I went over the stamping. So then I wanted to add a little water to kind of give it that, textured look and give it those water spots, kind of make it look like it was snowing with the sky, which I thought came out really well. The problem is it got into some of the areas where I had already stamped. So this is what I'm saying. If you want to make this something similar to this, make sure you do the background first before you ever get into stamping and doing all of that other good stuff, because you will have a lot easier time than I did, because I ended up having to go back and restamp. And I will say, if I didn't have some type of stamping platform, I probably would have had to scrap this. I would not have been able to restamp any of this stuff. But because I had the platform, I was able to put it on there. Then this is the other thing. I have a Merry Christmas die. I believe it was from one of the previous Scrapping for Less kits, but I could honestly be wrong because I just have it sitting on my magnetic sheets and I'm not exactly sure where it came from or even what it is. But so it says Merry Christmas, and I have some sparkly paper that I decided I wanted to use. Now, the sparkly paper is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. But part of the problem is there's like a plasticky background that was really, really difficult to try to cut through. And even using a couple different things, meaning my Big Shot, I used my little Sizzix, my little sidekick or whatever that one was called, to try to kind of get that out. It was still very difficult. I also had to make another back panel with using the embossing folder because the first sheet I used of black paper was just too thin, and I needed to get a thicker sheet because it ended up kind of marking it up. So after putting the sky in, restamping everything, putting foam tape on to put the hills on, getting the Merry Christmas finally cut out, deciding where I was going to put everything because the Merry Christmas was just going to go on the top. So I just ended up using some score tape to put down the background since it was already going to be, higher because of the foam tape with the snow hills. I didn't want to put too much more depth into the card. And so there I was just using the score tape again on that back panel, on the front panel for the where all the stamping and stuff was done. And I put it a little bit low on the card so that I could put the sentiment, the Merry Christmas, on the top of it. So like I said, overall I really liked how the card turned out, but I know this is really sped up and I actually took a lot of the stupid stuff that I was doing and the mistakes that I made and all the different things out of this, but it probably took me at least a good 2 hours to finally come up with this card, whereas if I would have had the initial thought process of it to begin with, it probably would have been very simple and maybe taken me a half an hour or so, 45 minutes at the most, to create this card. So that's it. I want to thank everyone for joining me, and I hope everybody has a great day. Take care.